Welcome to Namdaemun Market. This place was set up in 1414 during the reign of King Taejong. It was actually formerly known as Chilpai Market, a place where merchants would bring fish that was not really regulated and sell it here to customers.
자, 세정하시면 5,000원 드립니다.
This place brings back many memories. It was the first market I ever came to when I first traveled to Korea. My former boyfriend had his bottom pinched by probably a 70-year-old grandma here, which made me laugh like anything. In the 17th century, after the 6-year war with Japan and the invasion of China, Koreans found themselves in a state of poverty and they traveled to Namdaemun Market to sell whatever they had, things like furniture, pottery. By the 19th century, the area began to look like a permanent market rather than a collection of stalls. Korea's first permanent market that was open all day long. Guys, there's just so many streets here that you get confused about where to go. There's so much selection and there's entire sections that are dedicated to particular things. Like, for example, pork knuckle meat. By the early 20th century, foreign merchants visited Namdaemun, and Koreans made up about 50% of the vendors. 여기 from 남자? 남자. Okay, I should be looking. Okay.
이건 남자.
이거
여자.
Oh, 여자. Okay.
화이트 여자, 블랙 남자.
Oh, okay. There were issues which threatened the market's stability, including talks of revoking the market's license, deciding who should manage it. There were organized gangs who prevented the market from flourishing, and later fires, particularly during the 50s, the 60s and the 70s, which destroyed hundreds of shops here. In the early 1980s, before government deregulation of imports, vendors illegally sold smuggled army uniforms, boots, wool blankets, canned goods, tobacco, cameras, watches. It was precisely in the parts of Namdaemun Market, like this, the periphery, the edge of the market, that was famously called Dokkapi Market. Dokkapi, or Yankee Market, referred to the fact that people were selling illegal, unlicensed items here. Dokkapi actually means goblin, or somebody that would scuttle away quickly if the government licensed patrol guys would actually catch you in the act of selling something that you shouldn't be selling. Even while Korea was recovering from the Korean War, there were still 500 vendors and 150 stores active. It's almost like cereal coated in, I'm not sure if it's honey or sugar. By the 60s and 70s, Namdaemun became famous for the best hand-sewn clothing, and it became a major rival to Dongdaemun Market, who was also a dominant clothing retail area. I've bought several of these dresses and I love them because they just stretch over your body and they fit perfectly.
Korean.
Korean. Namdaemun is like a glimpse into the old nostalgic part of Seoul, a glimpse into historical Seoul, perhaps Seoul of the 1970s. Korea used to specialize at making wigs, it's interesting to find this store back here because it was something I'd completely forgotten about until I just saw this store. At Namdaemun you can find cameras and cell phones and spices and glassware, all kinds of clothing and footwear, luggage, toys, teapots, Asian medicine. The list is endless. This one is got a lot of bedroom items, quilts, pillows. This place is kind of familiar, but I'm also kind of lost. Like every time I come to Namdaemun, I don't know how to find my way back to the train station. I love these traditional aprons, they're so beautiful. There's indoor sections here in the market too. For example, if I wander down here, it's going to take me to some underground area where there's plenty more shopping available too. I think for Westerners that are trying to buy sets of cutlery, Namdaemun is the best place to come because you can actually find a lot of knives and forks and spoons. The busiest time to visit Namdaemun is during lunchtime because a lot of people actually come here to eat. There's a lot of selection of Korean food here, including hotteok, which is what Namdaemun is particularly famous for. I am not hungry, but I don't want to leave without eating a honey one. Hot. I can taste the more savoury items that are cooked in the same oil. I can taste the honey, it's nice. It's funny because she makes you put the money and take out your change.
Your own change, yeah.
Yeah, I was like, oh my god.
That's a lot of trust right there.
감사합니다. 안녕하세요. My hotteok with honey ended up being really delicious. It's funny how all of these are located actually just as you walk up to the subway station. So it's almost like you can't escape from this area without actually eating something delicious. And it's funny how you manage to make a lot of room even when you're not particularly hungry. When you smell those delicious smells coming and you're just like, oh my god, that hotteok smells so good.